time just describing to you how work has changed and how data plays a critical role in it, and how we should be thinking as organizations, as leaders, to bring that data throughout our entire organization to get its true benefits. And in support of that, we'll show you a whirlwind tour of all the capabilities that Power BI has integrating data into Microsoft Office. For many of our organizations, people work in Office every day, and it's important that they can quickly and easily find the authoritative data to, in the flow of their work, make the best decisions. In the demo, we'll cover a number of technologies, Teams, Outlook, Office.com. We'll also make a few shout outs to Excel and PowerPoint. Importantly, the demos today set the stage for the sessions that we have in the subsequent rounds, right? So over the next total of 6 weeks, which will go into much deeper things on Excel, on PowerPoint, on report creation, and so on and so forth. And then we'll leave you with a set of resources as well. Along the way, we'll ask some poll questions, so hopefully it'll be interactive. As you have questions, please do put them in the chat. We're really happy to engage, and there'll be some times during the session where we can come off mute and ask those questions that you might have. So where I like to start typically is, asking a question, like, what is the future of work? And I think when I reflect on the last several years, I've seen a tremendous change in the way that work happens. Things that used to happen with a sheet of paper and a pencil now ubiquitously happen on a screen with a tap, with a click. And what that means is that every activity, every process, every function within organizations is producing data. And the expectations of workers have changed. Now workers are expected to know that data, be on top of that data, know what's happening, and use the latest data to actually make the best decisions in real time. And what we've also learned is that there's so much data, and it's coming at organizations and individuals and teams so quickly that no single person can stay on top of it all. There used to be a world where someone was monitoring the data and then bringing those insights to the team, and the team would process it. That's no longer good enough because there's so much data. And so we've learned that using data to make decisions is actually a team sport. Everyone on the team at every job role and every functional level, every skill level needs to participate to find the biggest insights, the timely insights, and bring them in for conversation. And that means that organizations need to ask themselves, how are we really empowering our entire workforce to participate in this new way of working? And it really starts with, how well does my organization ask questions? Are we focusing on the things that matter the most? Are we doing the things that will have the biggest impact in the time that we have with the resources that we have? What should we do next? Is this the thing that's most likely to achieve the outcomes that we want? Or is it just something that we've grown accustomed to doing over years, but it may not have the same results in the current business conditions, in the current economic environment? So all these questions are questions really about data, and data can help us have a much more focused answer to that rather than relying on the perceptions of individuals. Perceptions of individuals are still important, but the data helps us reflect on it and bring those two worlds together to have the best possible chance of making a decision. And this is where Power BI really comes in, right? Power BI is a tool that helps you achieve this transformation of this way of working. And it's really because we help you build a data culture. Now, data culture is sometimes not well defined. I like to think of it in a simple terms. It's how effectively does my organization use data on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis to inform our decision making. Organization that has a great data culture, you will see individuals, teams, you will see meetings, you will see executive reviews across the stack, all the way up, all the way down, all the way across every functional level. People are using data actively, and it's part of the conversation. In an organization that doesn't have a thriving data culture, you may see silos of that, or you might see the hero moment where someone brings a specific insight. But that's not where organizations need to be to really capture the full opportunity that data has to improve productivity. And so we in the Power BI team really think hard about how we're empowering every individual, every team, and the entire organization to use data. At the individual and team level, how easy is it for people to get started? How easy is it for people to share, to bring insights in the flow of their work? And we're going to spend a lot of time today in the demo showing examples of how we do that at a very practical level. And importantly, at the organizational level, how do we empower the entire workforce with authoritative data as a single source of truth? And we'll talk a lot about this concept of a data hub and how making it available ubiquitously to Office users really accelerates your data culture. And this is where Power BI really has a point of view, if you would, right? We try to seamlessly integrate our data experiences everywhere people work, directly inside Office through a deep and rich integration. And it's because we firmly believe that when data is available, when people are no longer searching for where the right data is, the people can get the latest refreshable data, they can build processes, they can build habits that help them use data more frequently, which then can produce better outcomes. And so we'll go into a set of demos, but really there's three major pieces that I want you to think about as you see all the content that we have. The first is how Power BI builds a trusted and secure hub for all of your data, meaning that it's always easy to find the authoritative data sets. People aren't hunting for spreadsheets someone exported from some operational system. They're pulling data that's refreshable, that's curated, that's authoritative and correctly permissioned, so that they're using the best data to make timely decisions. Second is how we provide powerful visualization and intelligence capabilities so that people can get meaning and insights out of that data more quickly. Yeah, everything from really extensible data visualizations to artificial intelligence imbued visualizations that make it easy for everyone in the organization to get impact without having to be a data scientist. And then we also help you translate those insights into impact across your team. And we'll show you how Office is one of the ways that we do that by helping you bring those data and insights into your meetings, presentations, and collaboration forums and emails so that everyone is using the best data in a timely way and can always interrogate that data to draw the right conclusions or the best conclusions. And this brings me to a critical point. When we design Power BI, we design it for everyone in your organization. And this is very different to how BI has traditionally been delivered. Traditionally, BI has been the domain of either very skilled IT teams who generate operational reports and distribute them to consumers who then consume those, or a small set of analysts who have access to a lot of data and create very interactive reports that then they distribute. And our point of view is that those things are necessary and we have them in the Power BI product. We enable you to build those. And also, we empower a lot more people across job roles with much lower skill levels broadly within your organization to get the same kinds of experiences over the data that's important to them. And that means that we really help people, no matter where they're located, no matter how they've worked previously, they can get started quickly. And we'll see a couple of examples of that, especially when we talk about Power BI's metrics capability of how empowering it is to start tracking data and how easy it is to do so. And one other thing that we really do try to do is we try to target our capabilities and hold ourselves to a fairly high standard about enabling people with different ability levels, right? We know that the different people have different accessibility challenges. And when we design our products, we do sweat the details to make sure that we're achieving a good experience for those people. So with that as background, let's start talking a little bit about how Power BI enables all of this value to reach users through Microsoft Office. And in this example, I'm just showing a set of integrations. Today, we will talk mostly about our Teams, SharePoint, Outlook, and Office.com integrations. We'll touch on Excel and PowerPoint, and we'll do a lot more details in subsequent sessions. Importantly, I think it's it's critical for us to reflect on how broad this integration is. We're trying to make data and insights immediately visible to everyone in the organization in the tools that they prefer to work in. We believe that there's a value in keeping people in the flow of their work so that they don't have to change tools, they don't have to change windows. It's just right there when they need it. And they can always access the data, and it helps them achieve their specific outcome. To illustrate this example, I wanted to introduce to you one of our personas, Amanda, a retail manager. And in the retail industry, Amanda wakes up every Monday morning and says, hey, I need to make sure that the products that are on the store shelves actually sell. And so they need to sell through. And she's got targets for how many cases of some product need to get sold. And she needs to make sure that she and her team are working together to position products in the best places to sell at the right times, set the right discounts to incentivize, do the market basket analysis to make sure that the right things are being purchased together, and maintain exceptional customer service in returns or just in the cleanliness of the store to make sure that people are attracted to it. And in all of these cases, Amanda's really focused on solving some of her pain points, how to exceed monthly and quarterly targets, how to visibly and transparently measure and track progress to motivate the team to achieve specific outcomes. How does she drive activity in a timely manner to handle or overcome any kind of supply chain or inventory issues? Learning and sharing the best strategies with other people she works with, both within the store that she manages or across stores that may be in a similar geographical region. And of course, communicating progress and insights to stakeholders and suppliers so that better products can be delivered in a more timely way and the right products are purchased at a good price point overall. In all these things, Power BI can really help Amanda, because as she does these things, Power BI's integrations into Microsoft Teams, where she collaborates with her colleagues, Power BI Metrics helps her track different issues over time and spot trends that could be beneficial or could be a challenge and get ahead of them. By bringing data into meetings, Amanda is able to drive the right conversation at the right time and support it not with a couple of anecdotal examples, but with really hard data that helps motivate the team to step up to challenges. And then all the way through to sharing with stakeholders, being able to share goals and metrics in meetings so that it's really easy to say, where is the store performing? How is the team working to address the challenges? And we are spending our time on the most impactful things. And to do this, Amanda can rely on a very deep and rich set of integrations that we have between Power BI and Microsoft Office. And we have a number of different capabilities, and I'll show many of them to you today. Things like an app that just brings Power BI everywhere you work, integrations to put data into channels and meetings and SharePoint sites where people can access it readily so that they can do their jobs. Messaging experiences so it's easy to share data with just a couple of clicks that's relevant and poignant so that you get the point across and you can take the next action. Notifications and search to keep you up to date and aware of everything that you have, and visibility in Office Home that lets you quickly access all of the data. And what this means is that whenever Amanda needs data, she doesn't have to remember where it is. It's always there, right where she's already working, in Outlook, in Office, in Teams, in SharePoint, in PowerPoint, or in Excel. So I think it's a really great set of integration capabilities. With that, let me jump into a demo. And in the demo, we'll talk a little bit more about four major areas, right? We'll talk about Teams, SharePoint, Outlook, and Office.com. And we'll show a couple of vignettes of Excel and PowerPoint that we'll go into a little bit more. But the whole point will be about enabling your organization to find trusted insights where they're already working, fewer context switches, faster access to insights, empowering your teams to be informed throughout the flow of their work. We'll see a couple of examples of meetings, and then we'll do a deep dive into meetings next week. And then we have how the integrations really help people get started, and we'll set that up. So with that, let me present my screen. and we can get into it. All right, and let me know if you can see my screen. I see a hand up. I guess that's a yes. All right. I see several hands up. Is that people saying yes, or that you can see the screen, or is that questions?
I think it might be a question. Okay. No.
Okay,
It was
people are
not.
just saying yes. Okay, great. So let's just start the demo where a lot of people in our organizations start. And this is office.com. And so just when I log into office.com, I have access to all of the content that I use. You notice that I have my quick access here. You'll also notice that here, alongside presentations that I'm using, I actually see a Power BI report right here when I log into office.com. And why is that? It's because Power BI enables you to integrate usage data into Office so that if you frequently use this retail managed report, it's just there for you when you start your day so that you can continue the next activity. We do the same thing here in search. And so you can see that we have, the same retail management support is available to me right here in Office. And what's interesting and amazing about that is that as a person who just needs to get my job done, I don't have to hunt for that report that I was using that I needed to continue working on. I can just click through straight from office.com directly into the report. And of course, the report is fully interactive. So I can click on Insights, and you'll notice that this report has built-in things like anomaly detection down here, where you can see that different anomalies have been detected within the data. It even has smart narratives, which is AI narratives that summarize the data, making it easier to understand. And all of these are fully responsive with the data that I'm interacting with. And what that means is that as a end user starting my day, trying to get something done, I can quickly get insights that are fully interactive, that are AI infused to help me make the best possible decisions. And what's really interesting is that some other people, they might start their day in Outlook. Certainly that's one of the first things that I check when I wake up in the morning. And alongside the to-dos that I have, alongside my calendar, you'll notice that over here on the Power BI side, on the app side, I have installed the Power BI app, right? So you can see Power BI is right here. And when I click on this, you will see that the full interactive Power BI experience is available for me here, right alongside my calendar and my to-do. That same retail management report that I was just looking at is right here and available for me. And you'll notice that without leaving Office, without leaving all of my productivity tools, my Outlook in this case, I have access to that same fully interactive report with the same capabilities. In fact, if I go back to Office, that same app, that same fully featured experience is right here as well. So I can just click on it again without leaving Office. I can get that same report. We actually have optimizations built in so that if we know that you are looking at a particular report, we take you back there so that you can stay in the flow of your work. And of course, when you close the report, you have access to the full Power BI experience. This overall integration comes into Teams as well. This is probably one of my favorite personal tools that I check even before I check my Outlook in the morning. And when I look at my activity, my chats, my calendar, and so forth, you'll notice that I have my Power BI app right here available to me as well. And when I click in on this app, you'll see that we have the fully featured Power BI experience with all of my recommended content, my access to the reports and scorecards and data sets that I access. It's really easy for me to create something new. We'll do a whole session just on this one scenario in 2 weeks' time. So I highly recommend you come in, but it's really easy to just get started by pasting some data or picking from a data set. Of course, I can browse to things that I have access to, but the critical capability here is this data hub. Now, this data hub empowers your organization to distribute your authoritative, refreshable, secured data sets to everyone who needs them within your organization. And you can see here that I have recommended data sets and I can see all of them. I can search for those data sets. When I navigate into a data set, I can quickly find the related reports, which means that I don't have to hunt for what data and who's already done an analysis over the raw data set. I can just jumpstart my journey by clicking on this retail management report. At the same time, I can learn what data is available. I can bring that data into Excel. I can even start creating a new report over top of that. All of these capabilities are available here in Teams, they're available in Outlook, and they're available in Office.com. And what that means is that no matter where I am working, the moment I need data, I can quickly and efficiently find that data and bring it into my flow of work. Now, what's interesting about this whole experience is we also make it really, really easy for you to collaborate over that data. And there's two elements of that, right? One is that let's say I find an insight. Here I've selected November and we can see that sales in November is significantly higher than in other months. And I'd like to communicate about it with one of my colleagues. Well, you'll notice here, right in this experience, we have a chat in Teams option. And what that means is when I click on this, we'll be able to send a message directly to a colleague and immediately send it. But that message comes along with a rich card so that Megan, in this case, knows exactly what report I'm sending to her. And when I share it, that card shows up directly in the chat here with Megan. And when Megan clicks this open button, that report opens directly within Teams so that Megan doesn't have to context switch. But take a look what happened. All of the filters and selections that I had are preserved. So here I had selected November. Megan sees November when she opens that link. She sees that the region is the South region. The year is 2017, the same settings that I was looking at. And what that means is that Megan can immediately see the same insight I was seeing. And I didn't have to think about it. It just was very, very easy to share that insight with Megan. And Megan very quickly was able to consume that insight so that she can reply and we can have the conversation. But our collaboration capabilities don't stop there. We also have this capability up here to pin a report to a team channel chat. And we can actually pin it to a meeting as well. I'll show you that example in a bit. But just by coming in and picking a team, picking a channel, and then pressing add, I can take this report that we've been looking at and I can bring it to the people that I'm collaborating with so that everyone can find it and use it within the flow of their work, right alongside all of the posts and files and other tabs, maybe other apps they might be using or other resources that we've configured for that collaboration. That report is there right alongside the conversation that we can have about it as well. And that means that we can discuss the data very quickly within our team and use the most authoritative, up-to-date data without having to search for it. And this becomes very transformational because you can actually take these same kinds of insights and put them in meetings, right? So here, for example, I have a weekly meeting. And just by bringing a tab into the meeting, just going to pick Power BI, and I can make sure that when we meet, everyone in the team can quickly look at the same authoritative data. In this case, I'm picking a finance report. And this report is great because it shows even more of the AI capabilities, like this decomposition tree, where I can really dig in to what's driving a particular outcome. Like in this case, gross sales is being driven by online and dining and entertainment, and so on down the chain. so we can have the best possible conversation. But you'll notice here that I've actually configured multiple Power BI artifacts, including this scorecard right here in the meeting. And what that means is that whenever we meet, it's really easy to drill into particular metrics that are important to us, track progress, and use these toolings to drive actions. Like, for example, I might mention myself in order to, let's just pick Alan here. Here we go, to take an action. And when I send it, Alex will receive a notification, and there's a record here. So we can, in the next meeting, follow up and ask, in this case, myself, Alex, did we follow up? What did we learn? These experiences of bringing data where you're working also apply to SharePoint. So here, for example, I have a team, and what I can do is I can go ahead and create a new page in this team. And I'm just going to go create this page. And I'll give it a title. And here within the section, I'll go ahead and add a Power BI web part. You can see that Power BI is also here, right? So I can just go ahead and pick it. And when I say add report, I can come back to my retail managed report, take the URL. My apologies. I can take the URL from the menu here. I can embed the report here and pick SharePoint Online, copy this URL, then come back to the SharePoint page, and the report will be embedded. And what that means is whether I'm distributing insights through my SharePoint sites, my teams, my meetings, I can immediately get fully interactive, secured data into the hands of the people in my organization, right where they're already expecting to work. And what's also great is that these same integrations that I'm showing you extend into places like a PowerPoint. So for example, I can take this visual and I can press the share button here just off the end off of this visual, and I can take this chart and bring it into a PowerPoint. Many of us take screenshots and bring them into PowerPoints, and they're always out of date, especially if we have a recurring meeting like a weekly status check-in. And what I can do is I'll just navigate over to PowerPoint. I'll click over to add-ins. I'll add the Power BI add-in here. And when it loads, I can just paste the URL, insert the chart, make it a little bit bigger. And now I can go ahead and write my status report in my presentation very easily while still having the fully interactive chart that supports filtering. We'll do a lot more of a deep dive in this in next week's session, but just gives you an example of whether I'm in Teams, Outlook, PowerPoint, SharePoint, during a meeting, I can use data more effectively because it's just everywhere. One of the other great capabilities that we have is this idea that, we want to keep you up to date. And so if I click over to my Teams activity, you'll notice that here Megan shared a finance report with me, and I can view that in my activity feed without ever leaving Teams. You notice how quick that was. So if I just need to catch up on a busy day, I was in meetings all day, I can click through and quickly analyze the data. I can favorite it, I can pin it, I can export it, I can share it, all within a single experience. And these same kinds of experiences also apply to writing emails. So here, for example, I'm going to switch back into Outlook, and I'm going to start a new email. And you'll notice that all I did was I copied a URL to the Power BI report. And take a look what happens here when I paste it. That same interactive card that we had in Teams is now available in my Outlook. So when I send my email to Megan, she has the same context that we were all working on. And I'll just go ahead and send it. And she can quickly and easily open that directly from her email. One other important aspect of our overall integration is we try to make it really easy for organizations to use data wherever their users want to use it. And for many organizations, that's Excel. So here what I'm doing is I'm exporting a connected workbook directly into OneDrive, connected to the data set for this organization, for this report. And the amazing thing about this is that many of our organizations, they export static content a lot. And what I'm doing here is I'm showing how quickly and easily I'm able to go build up a connected pivot table using the authoritative data um, that we have. And here's my gross profit. I can just quickly and easily build out a Excel pivot table connected to that same authoritative data. And what that means to me is that I don't have to repeat this analysis on a weekly basis. I can just come in here to the data tab and press refresh. The same thing is true here on the presentation. The data will be up to date. And in my SharePoint site, the data will be up to date. And in my teams, in my meetings, in my collaborations, and in my Outlook, the data will always be up to date. And so in that way, we're taking our value that we have in Power BI and enabling everyone in the organization to access it quickly, and also enabling the organization to distribute that data in a very efficient way so that it's always on the left nav, it's always fully featured, it always takes you back to what you were working on so you can complete your tasks quickly, and also exposing the single source of truth that you have throughout everywhere that you're working. So with that, let me jump back into the presentation, and we can continue. Hey, Jody, would you be kind enough to present? It didn't work for me for some reason.
Sure. Let me do that. Let me navigate to the slide we were at. Just give me a second.
All right. So jumping out of the demo, you can see that we covered a broad swath of integrations, right? We talked a lot about how Teams users can benefit from Power BI. We showed SharePoint and Outlook and Office.com users, and we gave us a little glimpse of what you can do in PowerPoint and Excel. We'll have more detailed demos in the subsequent weeks on all of those, so you can really get into it and understand the key capabilities there. But importantly, what we covered is we showed how Power BI is empowering Teams, Outlook, and Office.com users to access the data that they need right in the flow of their work with a single click. It's just always there. We showed how putting data into the various places where people are working, whether that's Teams tabs, meetings, SharePoint sites, or even PowerPoint presentations, really accelerates the use of authoritative refreshable data rather than static, manually created data. And then really this idea of empowering everyone to find insights throughout Office with the Office.com and the recommended integrations, the search integration, helps your organization distribute data and insights throughout and broadly within your organization so that more people can find the authoritative data rather than copies of the data that someone might have saved on a OneDrive. So with that, let's open up a poll. And we'd like to ask you what excites you the most about Power BI in Office. And you should see a poll window jump up on your screen. And then you can check a checkbox and press submit. And we'll see in the chat the responses so you can see what other people around us are excited about as well. If you don't see the dialogue, it's not a problem. Just go ahead and type into the chat window which of these that are on the screen here are the most exciting for you. And we'll give it a couple of seconds for people to respond. And it looks like single source of truth is out to a early lead with 18 responses for 66%. Sharing reports through SharePoint has a slight edge over faster collaboration in Teams. Oh no, they're dead even now. And then single source of truth is taking the prize, I think, given the audience that we have today. So please do continue to fill in responses, but I think that's very, very interesting to reflect on, right? This idea that there is a single source of truth, and that single source of truth isn't something you necessarily have to train everyone in your organization to go memorize where it is. They can find it quickly and easily because you can bring it into all of these places. So with that, let me cover a couple of details about what I showed you today. So first off, the Teams integration that I showed you, all of the app that's in Teams, the tab integration, the meeting integration, notifications, and even search and messaging experiences, all of that is generally available. It should be enabled in your organization, but work with your Teams administrator to make sure that the Power BI app is allowed in the Teams admin portal under app settings. And then also with your Power BI administrator, just make sure that you haven't turned any of the integrations off, and that will enable your users to find the app, have it installed if they use Power BI. There's one thing that you can do to accelerate usage of Power BI in Teams, which is work with your Teams administrator to pre-install the app for users, for example, who have a license. And to do that, you would create what's called a app setup policy, and your Teams administrator will know what that is. So this is a great thing. It's available ubiquitously right now. So every one of you should be able to get started and even, give it a try right now while we're on the meeting. The second thing is we have our integration with office.com, where we have items showing up directly in Office Search and showing up directly in the office.com list. This is also available right now. You need to turn it on in Power BI. So work with your Power BI administrator. And there's a setting called Share Data with your Microsoft 365 services, and turn that from disabled to enabled. And what that does is that allows Power BI to send the recent usage of your users into the same place where your Office usage is collected. And that way Office's recommendation and the Office's list experiences can use that data to show through it. I think it's a really simple thing you can do that can have a really big impact. So highly recommend taking that step if you're able. The third thing is that I showed you the Office and Outlook experiences. These are experiences that are available in targeted release for the majority of users. The Office.com experience, where the app is loaded inside Office.com, is something that's rolling out a little bit faster. So it should be available for some of you if you're in what's called current channel. That should be available for some of you. If you're on some of the later releases, that may come in the coming months. Outlook for the web, what I demonstrated, as well as Outlook desktop, is in targeted release. So you can start playing around with that yourselves, enable it for a target set of people in your organization. And as Outlook continues to deploy more broadly, more users will have that available to them. If I think of like 3 simple things that you can do to bootstrap this kind of usage and this distribution of the single source of truth, and the faster collaboration and the sharing of reports, I really think of the 3 things. The first is just start using Power BI in Office, right? Find these examples, right? Start enabling your organization. Make sure that these integrations are actually enabled throughout your organization. The second is to start showing and telling to your organization that these capabilities exist. We'll talk a little bit more in a couple of slides about resources we have available for you to support that. But it's really important that as you meet with your teams, as you run training sessions, you actually show this, because a lot of people don't know that they can do this. They already are fully licensed, especially if your organization has E5, is fully licensed to do these experiences. And so it's just a matter of educating users and showing a couple of examples. The third thing, I think this is maybe one of the most strategic things you can do, is start making using data part of every single one of your meetings, not only at the senior executive levels, but all the way down to work groups, divisions, all those things. Because what that means for you is that your organization will learn how to use data effectively over a series of weeks and months. And as they build that skill, it becomes a habit. they will seek out more data, they will use it more effectively, and they will leverage all of this tooling that we've just shown you to accomplish those tasks. So it's one of the most strategic things you can do, and I highly recommend you, if you're not already on a strategy within your organization to effectively use data during meetings, I'd highly encourage you to give it a shot. So with this, I think we covered many of these integrations. There's a couple like Viva Goals we didn't get into. We'll do a lot deeper dives in especially Excel and PowerPoint and Viva Goals in subsequent sessions. We'll also show you report creation. But this slide is something that you can take from this session. It has links to all the getting started documentation and a few other capabilities that I didn't even mention today that help you get started on the journey throughout your organization. This slide just helps you understand across all the things that we talked about today and we'll talk about in future sessions, what's available right now and actions you can take today to start using those, right? And so you can see that, Teams is generally available, where Outlook is, and so forth, right? So go ahead and use this. This is maybe a little bit of an action plan you can take back with you. And we'll talk more about these actions that you can take in the subsequent sessions as well. We have a series of training opportunities for you. We really think it's important for end users and broadly within your organizations to upskill workforces to learn how to use data. To support that, we have 3 major offerings. The first is a set of free on-demand training. Literally, you can send the URL here from the slide to anyone in your organization, and today they can start training themselves on how to use Power BI. It's completely complimentary. You don't have to sign up for anything. There's a trainer that will walk you through how to do things. The second one is Brown Bag Bootstrap. Now, what this means is a lot of teams and organizations, they hold, like during lunchtime, a seminar where they will share best practices and just build a community around using data. And in North America, we call those brown bags because you bring your lunch in a brown bag and then you eat the lunch and you talk at the same time. But what's important here is we're building a set of pre-made presentations that you'll be able to deliver with your teams so that you don't even have to create the content. You can customize it to your own needs, but broadly speaking, you can just present the built-in content so that you can have the conversation with your team. Those aren't available today, but we're working on those and we'll share details later on in this series. And the last opportunity is for a Microsoft-led training where you can have people from Microsoft train your organization in a dedicated session. So you could bring a number of people, 20, 50, 100 people into a room and get a more targeted training for your organization. So those are available and we'll talk a little bit more about how you can participate in that in coming times. So this was the first week of our sessions. We have 5 more weeks of content. And what's amazing is that we're going to take some of these very high-level learnings that we had today, and we're going to start applying them into specific situations. Next week will be all about making meetings more effective, where we'll talk more in depth about PowerPoint. We'll start introducing our metrics capability that I showed at the very, very small level earlier today. And we'll talk about how using PowerPoint or Power BI in Teams meetings helps your organization.